And welcome back to another fun-filled episode of that 401k podcast. Ary Rosenbaum here alone. Um, Dan's not here today. We had a scheduled broadcast where we were going to record Corey Snyder. We all recorded it, but thanks to some snafus with the recording device, we couldn't publish it. So rather than not have anything, I just thought that I'd be here to talk about some of the some of the experiences from our past Cleveland events, some of the things that are going on, and of course talk about the future events as well as that 401k national conference. So anyway, on September 20th, we had that 401k conference at Progressive Fields. And of course, in a few weeks, on October 11th, we will be at Foxborough for our very first football-themed that 401k conference in Foxborough, Massachusetts, home of the New England Patriots, Gillette Stadium. And then Friday, November 8th, we'll be back in the New York, New Jersey area, that 401k conference at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And then Friday, December 13th, Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys, as we finish out 2019 in style at the home of America's team. And of course, we're going to have another event, the national event, that 401k National Conference, March 2020, Walt Disney World Swan. And within a few weeks, we'll announce we're going to book one 2020 date in St. Louis. It's going to be sometime in May. So hopefully you can attend these events. And how do these events run? I ran into an advisor in Cleveland who took me aside and just said how much he loved the event and how he's going to write about it on LinkedIn. And, these events, again, the idea that I had for these events, I did local events in the area, talking to advisors through, either sponsoring them or at the guest of a DCIO to educate advisors on the 401k marketplace. And of course, when you go to the venue, it's always going to be at a local Marriott, Sheraton, Hilton, whatever. It's certainly not Motel 6. And when you sit down, uh, you know, the event is nothing memorable. You're going to hear some presentations. You're going to have food that just doesn't really agree with you because it's nothing with nothing. It's bland chicken or whatever it is. And so I came up with these events, and when I came up with the event for that 401k conference, I was talking to Bill Shorey's from then was Oppenheimer. Now he's a DCIO in Vesco for the New York area, and then Chris York, who works for a local TPA out here in Long Island, Associated Pension, and was coming up with ideas for events. And I thought about something like a Comic-Con type event, and when you thought about it, the Comic-Con, when I think of Comic-Con, I think of big tables and, you know, displays and all that kind of stuff. It just kind of didn't make any sense. So I thought about, maybe having an event at a stadium. And that's where that 401k conference came from. And I would bring in an athlete. And since my friend Larry Davis, who eventually you'll hear on a podcast that I'll actually record, you'll really hear his ideas in terms of guests and all that stuff. But, I contacted Larry, and he works with Dwight Gooden, who's one of my favorite players of all time. And, based on what Doc was charging, it was very, very reasonable. We could bring Doc in for the event, and, we would have it. So in June 2018, we had our very first event at Citi Field. And the way these events work out, the first time is always, it's like putting on, wheels, on your bike, safety wheels and whatnot. It's always that first experience and trying to work things out where it doesn't work out. And we had the event, and, it was a great event. Obviously, there were some things that we had to work out. I had too many people speaking. And of course, Larry brought in Dwight early. So Dwight was way early. So thanks to all the presentations, we were way over late. Dwight comes in early. The last presenter, who of course it turns out to be Dan Ventori later, has no interest from the crowd because Dwight Gooden's outside signing autographs. So clearly, there are things and kinks that we had to work out. Limit the amount of speakers that we had. I think at that event we had 8 or 9. We limited it to 6. And of course, another facet was not bringing the guests until the conference is kind of over. Bring them in for lunchtime. And of course, adding networking time, which we just didn't have. I always call it a networking time. It's also time for a bathroom break. But when you're a sponsor for these events or you're an attendee, you want to talk to the people who are fellow attendees or a sponsor and talk to them. So after every event after that, we have 10, 15 minutes where we discuss that. We have discussions and whatnot. So worked out the kinks for the first one. Then we went to Chicago. That was really phenomenal because I'd never been to Wrigley Field before. We had Andre Dawson as the guest, which was fantastic. And then, of course, we had the event in Philadelphia in November 2018. We had Larry Anderson. And then in 2019, we were, I think we're a little too ambitious with the amount of events that we had. We had Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium. 2 events in St. Petersburg, Florida, at the home of the Rays. We tried a planned sponsor event. We will probably try that again. It's just in terms of planning and getting the planned sponsors involved, it can be very, very difficult. We tried it once. I think we will try it again. And then in April, we were in Atlanta, SunTrust Park. In May, we were in Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium. In June, we were at Coors Field in Denver. September, of course, just came past at Progressive Field in Cleveland. And so, again, how these events work out, you're an advisor, you pay $100, or you're a plan provider. And the plan providers, the fees to sponsor the event, I'm not going to pretend, it's a state secret. For $1,500, you're a plan provider. You get to speak in front of the audience for 25, 30 minutes. For $500, you just get to show up, say hello, say 2-3 minutes of what you're doing, get the network and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, we have stadium tour sponsors, $750, whatever it is. So the idea was I was never going to burn the plan sponsors, the plan provider sponsors for the event. And more importantly, I needed, there's always $100 to show up for the advisor. And I really demand that. I've been to other events, which I'm not going to name, but, talking to advisors, it's a free event, and, you'll have 70 people RSVP, and then when push comes to shove and they got something better to do, well, then you're going to have 30 people show up. And, I can't tell that to the plan providers. I want people committed. So you charge them $100 just so it secures their spot. And then, for the $100, they get a lunch, they get 4 hours of content, they get to meet a former athlete, Andre Dawson. My son and I are probably going to go see it again at a show in October in White Plains. And, Andre Dawson charges $50 an autograph. A stadium tour costs probably $25. So there's tremendous value. And, if you're an advisor, realize the marketplace has changed. You can't get everything you want for free anymore. And so, you put down $100. You don't feel like you're getting ripped off. Great ways to learn about your practice. Some new ideas that come about. EvoShare, did a presentation in LA. We hope to get them again, depending, of course, on their budget and availability and all that stuff. And, they're a tremendous program and, bringing, value with online shopping and how that can get turned into a 401k deferral deposit. And then, of course, you have, other, FPS Trusts. They've been great sponsors. You can learn about their auto rollover and voluntary IRA solutions that are fantastic for the advisor, for the plan providers that want to offer something unique and different than what we've come to expect from automatic rollover solutions. So you learn about new things, you learn how to build your business, and it's a great resource. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of entertainment, and of course, it's memorable. So Dan and I decided that if we were going to do it locally, why don't we try a national event? And that was always the idea. I probably think that we're doing it probably a year too early in some respects, but we're going to do it at Walt Disney World in March 2020. And again, there are a lot of great national events. We're going to be something uniquely different. So, number one thing that's uniquely different, The registration fees are going to be a lot less because you're going to be expected to, get a Disney hotel, which is not the cheapest, even at Walt Disney World Swan. And it's more about networking capabilities, being able to network with other providers. It's not all about, uh, you know, you know, uh, getting as much money as we can from the plan provider sponsors and from the attendees. And unlike the local events, these are going to be open up to advisors, TPAs, auditors, any really plan providers that want to attend and want to learn something about the business. And then, of course, uniquely, we'll bring in some athletes, depending on availability, as well as unique content. And when I say unique content, my feeling is if you go look at a national event, and there are like quite a few of them, you will see on many of them the common denominator being the same speakers and the same sponsors. So we're going to offer unique alternatives, unique speakers that will add a different flavor to a national conference. It'll be certainly more laid back than most most national conferences. The Retireaholics will be there. They've been at quite a few national events, but we'll do something very, very interesting with them. And there'll be, like I said, unique educational and unique networking opportunities. And more importantly, since the events are going to be on Tuesday, Wednesday, that gives you about 3 days or no matter how much time you want to spend to go and enjoy Walt Disney World, which is probably one of my favorite places on Earth. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is going to be open. So that's why we have an early bird special, $300, signs you up for the conference. And then, of course, if you go to that 401ksite.com, you will see the links to sign up for the hotel, to sign up for the discount Walt Disney World tickets, which is substantially, you're looking at 30% clip. And then learn more about the event. And, as we get closer, that early bird special will end around December 31st. So then we will increase, obviously, the fee for attending the conference. And again, we will have some unique opportunities, some ideas that we're coming up with that will set this conference apart. And of course, we recommend that you bring your family along. Again, this is an event in Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. This is Walt Disney World. What happens in Walt Disney World should be shared with the entire family. So it's going to be a family fun event. And, it's also where fun is going to meet 401k. So again, it's going to be more of a laid-back convention, but it'll be, again, unique opportunities to listen, unique speakers, and more importantly, connections. Because, going and learning is one thing, but connecting with other plan providers is going to be something tremendous. And we're going to use some interesting ways to do that. Because, again, this is where fun is going to meet 401k. And you're really going to enjoy yourselves. So hopefully you can go to that 401ksite.com, sign up for the national conference, sign up for Foxborough, MetLife Stadium, and AT&T Stadium as we finish off 2019. And Dan and I will be back next week with another podcast where we're going to talk about more interesting aspects of the retirement plan business, and obviously for information for plan sponsors and plan providers as well. Take care.